Bize training. We picked our top 5 builders that'll get you to that 18 to 22 inch arm range. Now it's time to get flexing.
The building blocks, the bicep, so there's really no better way to start off a sweet bicep training video than watching Big DK50 smash some ammonia and get after these 85s. What's important here is that when you're focusing on bicep training, you're going to see he's getting a little bit of a cheat in there. He's getting a little swing in there, and that's not too bad, especially if he gets that little contraction right up at the top. He gets a nice solid contraction, squeezes the short and the long head of the Bize, but most importantly here is that because he's overloading the actual curl itself with that little bit of a cheat motion, his brachioradialis, which is the meat of his forearm, is getting serious overload along with the brachialis. So it's pretty good to see those hammer curls with a little bit of cheat in there. And if you want to prevent that, or if you want to ease up on the cheating, you can check out with what we're doing here is sitting on the utility bench, and when you're taking that utility bench seat, you get a little bit more back support, and you can isolate the biceps just a little bit more. You can't use as much weight because there's back support, and what ends up happening is you get a little bit more tension consistently throughout the concentric and eccentric part of the movement. There's almost entirely tension the entire lift, so you can still get a little bit heavy with a little bit of chest lean. Again, still overloading that brachioradialis and triggering in the brachialis. So Scott bench, Scott curls, preacher curls, whatever you want to call it, the absolute best bicep builder. It isolates the biceps so much. You get a huge pump from the short and the long head, and what's even better about it is that it's one of those rare bicep movements where you can actually go pretty heavy and be pretty aggressive. And so what we like to do is potentiate the muscles, where we'll go 4 or 5 sets, where we're going sets of 6 and 8, a little bit heavier, especially for elbow flexion, and then we'll do some drop sets of 3 sets of 20 to 25, because your biceps are going to be recruiting more motor units from those heavy sets and recruiting even more from those drop sets. And that's one of the biggest keys that we've found with blasting DKs, and he's now past the 22-inch bicep point, is that we've seen him on the preacher curl curling over 205 for 6 reps, and then he's coming back and he's hitting 185 for a set of 20. And so that leads to some serious potentiation. But the only downfall I'd say is that the range of motion is good. It's very good, but it's not as good as we'd see here in the incline curls. And so when you get into the incline curl, you can really get a long stretch out of the short and the long head. So much so that you're going to lead into the brachioradialis, which is again going to lead to that muscle mass down in the forearms as well. And that's like the biggest part of strength and conditioning, is that we want to see lengthening, and lengthening like we're seeing right here on the incline curl. Lengthening is strengthening, and what's great about the incline curl is that it's going to lead into some shoulder health and some shoulder stability and some pec health, because of where the insertion points are, the biceps, and it can really do a good job of keeping everything shoulder healthy. And that's what a lot of people tend to forget with these building blocks of the biceps, is that you've got to, if your biceps are strong, your shoulders are going to be strong. And even still, that leads into, as some people who have a strong grip will also have strong, their elbows are going to be a little bit healthier, and that's where the Zotman curls come into play, which is again, you supinate and you pronate, supinate, pronate, and it leads to tremendous thickness throughout all of your forearm, brachioradialis big time, because of the eccentric portion. You're overloading it, and you're doing something that you typically can concentrically raise with that reverse grip, but when you overload it eccentrically, you're really blowing up those forearms. And when you have those big strong forearm muscles, that's going to transfer to a big elbow flexion, and good size, good crossover for sports performance, but also just for aesthetics. You get those massive forearms, and big biceps as well. And it's just, you know, it's it's like the meathead dream, right? You can't get much better than that. And here we're gonna go into the glute head. The glute head curl is, you know, something that I made up because I just get lazy when I be training the Olympic weightlifters. And what ended up being so great about it, and this is in the new Bize and Trize 2. It's in the new the second volume. I played around with this for quite a while, and I couldn't find any curl exercise that could get my forearms as pumped as a glute head curl, because of the way you're gripping it, the fat grip, the fat dumbbell head, and then when you get to the top of the curl, you have to contract significantly with the biceps, but you also have to really contract with the brachioradialis, and that's, again, if we can keep hammering that home, is the stronger your forearms are, the stronger your biceps going to be. And if we have to remember the age-old adage of, you know, you're only as strong as your weakest link, and this is one of those key factors that right here with the glute head curl, you're going to get massive recruitment in the forearms and in the fingers and in the biceps, especially if you can get a little contraction at the top. And one thing you'll notice here is that I let go of the dumbbell head just slightly, and that's not great because you can lose that pinch curl, but it does help me recruit more motor units when I release and then bring it back. That does sort of ignite my nervous system slightly, so it's me cheating a little bit, but again, it's not a cheat. It's just me recruiting more motor units and training those high threshold motor units. And so, you know, these are 5 key movements that we use for massive elbow flexion, girth, strength, power, grip work, things that we use not just for bodybuilding but also for sports performance, and you will get tremendous pump out of all these movements.